Alright, welcome to another Shinobi collection video. For this video, since the PvP that was, I think, 7 days old, and well, we don't have content right now, is about to end tomorrow. And we're either gonna get new content tomorrow, or we're finally gonna get the shutdown notice that people are assuming that we're gonna get. And in my head, I thought, this is the perfect time to make a tier list of characters in this game based on their history. So if we go over here, there's about 1,000 characters that we're gonna be rating today. And what we're gonna see here is that we have the normal tier list that I do: triple S, double S, single S, A plus A, and then lower. So depending on how good they were in the meta, or if they broke the meta, we're gonna see how I think that they should rank in the history. So for example, a good amount of these characters from the top are all PvE units because PvP didn't exist. So we're gonna be judging them based on the PvE criteria and based on the content that was out during the time. A lot of you definitely did not play during this time. So you're just gonna have to trust my word on this. There's some characters in here that even I didn't get to play because when I first started this game, it was when we got this Kakashi right here. So I kind of missed out on the start of Naruto, EX Naruto. My first EX, I believe that was Tsunade or Pain. I don't remember, but it was when this Kakashi was giving up. So it was a long time ago. So I got history with this game. I started this game before 1 year anniversary. A lot of people definitely started when PvP is already out, and most likely when 7 stars were already out. So yeah, with that, let's start with Sasuke. So if you can look over here, some characters that have base 5 star, base 6 star. If you go a little bit further, like the first god in the game, I have their, where are they? Cannot find V1. They're here somewhere, but I found V2 over here. So you're gonna have their 5 star, 7 star, 6 star. Oh, I found they're over here. That's perfect because I'm gonna be judging them based on that. Because base 5 star, they're different than when they're 6 star, and they're different when they got their 7 star. There's some characters where it shows that their 7 star form is a lot weaker than their 5 star form during their prime. Yeah. With that, let's start with Sasuke. This Sasuke was one of the very first 5 star in the game, but I'm judging him as a 6 star because his 5 star and 6 star is different. Did not really matter. He's just a DPS unit. He's single target for PvE. Use your fire and lightning. No, PvE. Use your fire and lightning type. That is actually the most important part because you can have events where their nature resistant actually matters a lot. PvE, that's the most important part. A lot of these characters are not used in PvE because they're just resisting their type. Fire and lightning are one of the most basic ones. So with that, he's just a solid D. Kakashi is the exact same thing. His single target, his lightning damage, slightly better than Sasuke in that part because he buffs defense and he makes you take less damage from fire. So he's still in D just because he's a PvE unit. And 5 star back then is actually really strong. There's no reason for them in F tier because if you're going to be using 4 stars or 5 stars, and if they're 5 stars, they're automatically better than your 4 stars. So yeah, with that, we have Itachi, also D. He's your Sharingan user. Sharingan and later on becomes really bad, but during this part it doesn't really matter. Same thing with Kisame. Kisame is a solid D tier because he's one of the highest base damage for single target. His single target, I believe, is 1000. I believe Sasuke is 770 and Kakashi is 870. I think Itachi might have been 800. Yeah, Pain. Pain's your first AoE character in the game. 5 star. So that alone puts him to C. Their cast speed are very low, but everyone had low cast speed because cast speed increase did not, like cast speed up didn't really exist. Plus, Pain also had an attack damage multiplier, which could be really useful. He also shifted action. So we're gonna go a little bit more on these older characters just because I think it's worth it, just so we can remind people what time used to be. So Naruto. Naruto's a single target and he buffs speed. Pretty strong. So what I'm gonna do in these early stage, by the way, I'm just gonna put them in here. I'm not gonna bother putting who's better or not, because that's gonna get very complicated with 1,000 character rank. And yeah, with that, Gaara's an A tier. Gaara is one of the best character in the early game because everyone is squishy. Their max level is 80. Most people could not even get to get their character to level 80. This Gaara, he's an AoE attacker, so it's already better than Pain. Reduces enemy speed, which is pretty good. But the best part about this Gaara is his skill 2. His skill 2 gives your party 150% defense up. And that saves you. Very, very strong. Plus, I think he's immune to Taijutsu. So if you have that guy event that's really annoying back then, it's actually really, really good. Next character is Deidara. Deidara uses Hidden type. He has a really good base damage at 900. S2 buffs his attack and his damage up. So pretty good. Better than everyone else right now. Sasuke is a double type attacker, defense buffer, but not as high as Gaara. And then the other ones are okay. So Hidan is next. Hidan is a unique state user. His base damage is higher than Isame, but I believe he also debuffs attack. So I think he's better than them, but not as good as Deidara. Just because Deidara is actually pretty good because he buffs his damage, so that base damage is going to be slightly lower at the end of the day because Deidara buffs his stuff. Sakura is a healer, really good. Healer are one of the best characters in this game during PvE because if you don't have a healer, you will die. The next character is Sasori. Sasori is a single target damage, deals speed reduction, buffs your defense by 50%. Pretty good, but not as good as everyone else right now. Tsunade is better than Gaara because she was the best healer. Alright. Better than Sakura. Yeah. The teams that you wanted to run usually have Tsunade and Gaara in there. Plus, she did attack damage, so which was really strong. Orochimaru. Orochimaru is debuffer with low damage. He was probably going to be the first character in F tier because his kit is just making him so much weaker than everyone else that's already out. His HP needed to be above 80% to get some attack and speed buff, but that's hard to actually keep up. Jiraiya. Jiraiya is the first support in the game. He buffs attack, defense, and speed by 40%, which is strong. Plus his skill 1 is AoE. He doesn't do much damage, but he's one of the very first attack buffers in the party. Which is pretty strong during this time. Neji, really high attack. 1,000 base damage, but he buffs his attack by 150%, but he lowers his defense by 70%. Glass Cannon. Hinata is slightly lower than that, but she's a protector. So, protector, very first protector in the game is Hinata. Really strong. And this is Wedding Kushina. I don't remember when this character came out, but she had 2 attack type damage. She was pretty good. She was better than a lot of characters during that time. Mei. Mei is worse. Mei is kind of bad. She's a single target attack debuffer at 60%. It's really good, but her S1 doesn't do a lot of damage even though it's a. Who is next? Kabuto. Kabuto is, I believe, is a crit attacker. One of the first crit attacker in the game. His damage is pretty much the exact same as Sasuke. I believe this character was free. Yeah, this character was a free-to-play unit, so good enough for a D. Because they didn't really impact the meta much. Asuma is also a free character. He did attack damage as well as lowered attack. Slightly worse than that. Minato. Minato is the first best character in it. This character did so much damage, I'm going to put him in double S. Just because of how strong he is. When you've played this game, you're re-rolling for Minato. This is the 5-star version of Minato. His 6-star version, I don't really care for to rank much because it's just, he got it very late in the game, but his 5-star is worth the double S. He did 5 hits. I believe. No, 8 hits. No, that's 6-star. His 5-star did 5 hits of 350. It could hit AoE or it could hit single target. If it AoE, it's slightly weaker, but if it's single target, it does a lot of damage. Plus, he's an attack buffer and a defense buffer, plus a healer. So, he literally is this 3 character all at one. He was the best character in the game, easily. Zabuza. Zabuza is an alternate version of Neji. But it's an attack damage with a slightly less attack. I guess attack damage during this time was okay because defense wasn't really that buff. And then Haku's an attack damage, but also AoE. So pretty unique. Plus he's a protector. So really good for during this time. This Shikamaru is not really that good. He paralyzes, but he buffs his attack and speed, I guess, and heals. I guess during that time this is solid enough for B. It's a better Jiraiya, but Minato exists. That's the hard part. I can't put Shikamaru higher because Minato already came out. Like, even though Shikamaru is probably better than Jiraiya, but during Jiraiya's prime, Minato wasn't out. So during this time, that's probably it. Koji, kind of bad. He's a better Zabuza. Pretty much it, but he kills himself. But during this time, that they don't really matter because Minato. We have Kimimaro. Kimimaro is a AoE attacker as well as a single target attacker. Both attack damage dealer. Not really used in the meta. Free to play Sasuke. See him Sasuke. Kind of bad. He deals 5 times attack damage as well as buffing his own attack by 50% and speed by 50%. Probably an F tier. He's a free to play character though, so you can't go wrong. Can't go wrong with free to play character. Shippuden Sakura deals 4 times attack, as well as healing all allies and their chakra. I think she's the first chakra healer in the game, so that's very good during this time. Kirin Sasuke. He's a single target attack. This is the first. I think this is the first character who has a damage multiplier if you crit with the attack. So that's the best thing during this time. These DPS deal so much more damage with a single target. But he's skill 2 debuff, so you kind of want to run him with Minato also. So probably solid enough for B. Itachi. This Itachi is not free to play. And it's kind of bad because he heals. That's all he does. Single target heals, so probably C tier because we don't really have status effect in the past, but now we do. Now this is where it gets insane. This is the Boruto collab. So yes, Boruto is in Naruto Shinobi collection. So this is a 4-star Boruto that you can evolve to 5-star. And as a 5-star, he's kind of meh. He's not really the best character in here. He deals single target damage, is 2000 with a 2.5 times damage multiplier. Sasuke's a little bit better. And then he buffs his attack and skill damage for 80%. It's okay, but it's not the best. So probably C. But Sarada. Sarada is one of the best characters during this time. Probably solid S. Because for damage multiplier event, you will be running Sarada. So the way this game worked during time. We had our damage event also. And damage event's defense wasn't that high. Sarada lowers enemy defense by 70%. As well as sealing them and inflicting them with confusion. Her S1 deals 8 times attack damage, but it ignores 40% defense. So those stacks up together, making her insane in DPS, especially if you pair her up with other characters that have higher attack damage multiplier. She's one of the best supports for a damage event. Naruto is also an attack damage character, but not really useful because he was a 5-star. His 6-star arrived a lot later. And as a 5-star, he doesn't do much. He just deals attack damage or normal damage. Sasuke is a 4-star, turns into a 5-star. I forgot. I did put his 5-star. He's an attack damage multiplier who deals 4 times damage when the enemy's speed is down. Kind of hard to do because a lot of these debuffs are random, so you're going to see something that's attack, defense, or speed down. It's not guaranteed to get all 3. Sometimes you just get 1, sometimes you get 2, sometimes you get none. So you RNG trying to get that speed debuff even though he does it himself. He inflicts Genjutsu, which is solid, but not as good as everyone else. And then we have Guy. This guy is attack damage multiplier, lowers HP, lowers defense, and buffs his HP. He's worse than Sarada, so there's no reason for him to be anywhere near D tier at all. Kakashi. This Kakashi is one of the best characters in the game during this time because you can abuse his S1. His S1 did 10% to 15. No, that is 10% to 13% HP. It's all, and then but he reduces his own HP. This one he uses Kamui. This is the first Kamui Kakashi we got. People in the beginning thought this guy was a buffer because his S2 did buff your attack by 50%. That's not really what you wanted him for. In the highest difficulty event, 10% or 13% of their HP is a lot higher than the highest DPS character in the game during the time, which is probably still Minato. A lot higher because if the enemy has like 400,000 HP, you do like 0.1 of that, so you do like, how much is that? You do like 40,000 damage. 40,000 damage back then is insane. This character was so good that the harder the event is, the better he got. If a character has 1 million HP, you did 100,000 minimum. He was so good they had to nerf him. Him and another character that we're gonna go over on later on. They did not have a cap on this HP reduction of the attack. They had to introduce a cap just because they were so good that they had to introduce a cap. The cap right now for a 5-star is 100,000. The cap for his 6-star is 200,000. That cap is a lot lower than what he's usually dealing. He's usually doing 300, 400,000 based on these events. These events gets very hard because 6 stars. So 6-star events. So now we got our first EX character in the game, Naruto. I want to say he's around S tier, where his 5-star form. So pseudo AoE. Not as good as Minato when he first came out. He's better than Minato during his time, but he didn't take over the meta like Minato. So that's the two different aspects into this. Character might be better than people above him, but during this time he impacted the meta less because his 6-star form, which he got near anniversary, broke the game. And he got his 6-star form. People didn't understand what was going on. The average damage during this time was around 10k to 15k. And then you look in your friends list and you see someone with a 6-star Naruto. So I used this character during the fight against Madara during 1-year anniversary. That fight was impossible with 5 stars. Madara had like 400,000 HP. Imagine if you're doing 10,000 damage per turn. You're never gonna beat that stage, you're just gonna die. But Naruto, if you found a 6-star Naruto, he's doing 60,000, 65,000 to that event. 65,000 during this time was insane. And people didn't understand what was going on. Because all we knew was 5 stars, and then you see this 6-star, and you think someone was hacking. So yeah, he did a lot of damage during this time. Especially if you have a buffer that buffs his speed, because he gets 2 times damage multiplier. So yeah, this is the difference between his 5-star form and his 6-star form. You're gonna see the opposite later on, where some characters' 6-star form or later form is a lot lower than their initial form. So with that, the next character is Jiraiya, Blue Jiraiya. This Blue Jiraiya came out with Naruto. He's not that strong, sadly, F tier. He just did AoE first hit, lowers that, but not much. Free to play Hiruzen. Free to play character, sadly, not really worth it during this time. Free to play Kankuro, the exact same thing, not really worth it during this time. Then we have Gaara. This Gaara was a healer, as well as buffing unique users. Unique user at this point is just him and Hidan, I believe. Not a lot of unique users. We're gonna get unique users later, but he didn't do much. Onoki, this is the other character that did HP damage, but unlike, I'll put him lower than Kakashi because Kakashi came out first. Kakashi did between 10% to 13%. Onoki did only 12%. So his damage is consistent, and they had to limit it to 100,000. That was a sad day during the meta because we were abusing the hell out of those two. We were beating the hardest event by just reducing their HP by 10%, by 12% every time. And it did max HP also, so even if their HP is lower, it still did so much damage. May is nothing. Is she a free-to-play character? No, she's not. She really did nothing. May is the first state user in this game, by the way. The very first state user. And it wasn't useful. So what her state did is, I believe it disabled buffs and status effects on herself. No. A positive buff. It's weird. Like, it did poison damage and reduces defense. I guess just for being a state user will put her to B, but we'll get better state user later on. Now this is free to play Kurenai. Kurenai is a HP user also, but I believe during this time it wasn't limited yet. But she has a 50% chance to paralyze and reduce speed, as well as 8% HP cost. But there's better characters to use. Now we have EX Madara. EX Madara inflicts burn, as well as having his own state. So this is the first god in the game that got a state. So go over his 5-star form, which is the one that you're gonna get more. So his 5-star form deals AoE damage with S1 if the enemies, and then inflicts burn. He's just 1,000 damage, but his AoE, his S2 is single target, and then he has the fan state, where the more you attack him, the more damage he does. The thing with this state is, the way this state works, he's gonna lower his cast speed. He has low cast speed. You don't want him in flash. Because while he's in the action bar, he every time you attack him, he gets plus 100% skill damage. So you're just gonna keep stacking that up. And then once you get hit 5 times, this S1 will like one-shot an enemy. So his 5-star form is probably a little worse than Naruto. And then he got his 6-star form with the same time as Ashirama, which increased his AoE damage by a lot. I think he's breaking about 100k during this time. 100k was a lot. And then his S2 became his secondary skill that you wanted to use, because cast speed was also kind of starting to become a thing here. Because I think this is near 2nd anniversary when he got this. Not 2nd anniversary, maybe iOS anniversary. But his S1 became his more primary skill, while his 5-star was his S2. So it's just fair to put them in the same tier. Minato does nothing during this point. I think he did increase damage if the enemy speed is down, and it cancels. So I think he's the first cancel unit in the game. We can put it to C, but nothing really much. And then Kushina. Kushina just did 2 attack damage. One of them can steal. Not really impressive during this point, because we just got the taste of EX during this time. By the way, 6 stars didn't exist yet, so just imagine that. And then Guy was an AoE attack damage unit. This is one of probably the first one who did 2 times damage if it turned on his HP, I believe. Not really that good. He's an AoE user, but that's okay. And then Lee, pretty much the exact same thing, but single target. Depending on his gate. This one is he's a little bit crazy back then. These units, he did 6 times damage. There's a chance to become 10 times depending on his HP. Not really that useful, because attack damage characters in these games are not really that. It was a lot of attack damage characters, so it's hard to judge on who's the best one, because we're gonna know who the best one later on is. 10-10, 2.5 times attack AoE, chance to stun times single target. Pretty much the exact same boat. These are pretty much just generic single target we've gotten. Then we have free to play Granny Chio. She's one of the first character to have, I think, curse mark or reincarnation. I think it's reincarnation. So she can revive a dead ally. Which is very okay, but not really. There's no point of it. During this time, you weren't dying anyway. This is free to play B. Free to play B is a just attack damage character that stuns or paralyze. And then we have a Sasori. Sasori is a unique one. I have to put him in A for one reason. His S2 is a non-type damage nature ability, and there's a requirement to do that damage, and I believe he's the only one that does it. So just put him in higher, just because he can get you 1 stone. And then Sakura is a healer. Really care. Anything else? When your HP is high, she deals damage. That's again, DPS nowadays don't really matter because we have EX in the games. Rather use EX than them. Ashirama. This is the 3rd EX in the game. He grants the Great God state every time he uses S1 or inflicts it, which reduces damage 10% and then 15% and then 20%. Then at max, I think it cancels their action. My opinion, he's worse than the Naruto and Madara, because his damage is not up to point. S2 is buffing their defense by 50%, and then later on it becomes his 6-star form is the exact same thing as Madara, but slightly. It didn't really matter. He wasn't really part of the meta. I don't think he ever was part of the meta. And then Sasuke inflicts burn, but these characters are starting to fall off, because these characters, there's really no point to use these characters. He has a Susanoo rib state at least, and while that's nice, his chance, I guess we can put him up a little bit higher than that. A, nothing. So we're gonna reach these points where these characters are not really worth about talking about. Yaoi, there's no point talking about him. Like, these characters, there's no point about talking about them. So we went over a bunch of the early free-to-play characters or early PvE characters. So now we're probably just gonna talk about characters that are either 6-star or worth talking about. Like Pain. Pain is the 4th EX in the game, and he's an AoE attack who manipulated turns. I don't have the 5-star form of Pain, sadly. No, I removed his 5-star form because it didn't really matter. So this is gonna be judging his 6-star or 5-star depending on the best, because there's no point of putting the 6-star all the way down. So we're just gonna stick over this general unit during this time. I want to say he's probably in A+ tier. He was an okay PvP character when that came out, because he canceled actions, and then he moves their stuff. And then Konan is your Akatsuki support, not really used. Same with these guys. These guys weren't really used. I believe this. Yeah, no, this is the wrong. Is this the? No, it's not. Naruto. Probably same thing. These characters are not really being used at this point. I'm just gonna put him here. Yep, these characters, there's no point of talking about them anymore. Just hit that part of the meta of EX exists. You want EX characters in the game. Which is funny because the next EX is this Itachi. This Itachi is the worst EX in the game. He inflicts illusion, and he deals more damage if they're inflicted with Genjutsu. Or yeah, inflicts Genjutsu, deals 3 times more damage if they're inflicted 2 times during his 5-star. Not really use it. He's probably the worst one, sadly. And then these characters are easily gonna be over here now. Tsunade, probably double S, best healer during this time for PvP content. It's just that, because she grants the heal state. The heal state lets it so that your party will heal while it's not her turn. That was really broken when that came out. Her S1 did solid damage and it, but her 6-star form was garbage. So that's just how it is. When she got her 6-star form, is unusable, because we're already past the meta of healing. So that's the first instant that we can see a character that's really good in the meta, and then when she got an upgrade, not really usable. This is the Orochimaru that's buffing defense, similar to Gaara, slightly probably better than everyone else that's about to be put over here. This Naruto is a DPS unit. Don't really care about him. It's whatever. His 5-star probably better. Perfect here. Now this is an interesting part. I'm gonna talk about C. C is a solid S tier unit, because he's the first character, I believe, that is the right one. No, not this C. This is the wrong C. The C that this is supposed to be. So this C is bad. So let's pretend this C is the right C. So the C I'm talking about is 4-star C. 4-star C makes the enemy weak to taijutsu. So in damage event, characters who do the highest attack damage multiplier, which we will see later on, like EX Lee or EX Night Guy, this version 2, they do taijutsu damage. So you would lower the defense with Sarada. You make them weak to taijutsu with 4-star C, and then you start hitting like a truck. So sadly I put the wrong one in here, but 4-star C is a monster. These characters don't matter. Yep. Don't really care about to talk about them. There's really no point. but they're just here because I want to rank pretty much every character in the game. Kakashi, I want to say base 6-star, base 5-star. Yes, Kakashi is about an A tier. Or B tier, I mean. He just makes you immune to single target hits, which is really good at the time. S2, you didn't never use. S1 was a fixed damage. Actually, I don't think about it. I think he's S tier. But I think he's the first character who deals fixed. So, but his 6-star, the reason why I want to do that, because his 6-star is actually really strong. His 6-star is slightly better than his 5-star. So I actually want to drop down to A+, and then buff his 6-star to double S. Because you use this Kakashi a lot. If the enemy deals single target damage, you use Kakashi. Because it doesn't matter what nature they use. He deals fixed damage. Fixed damage will always bypass natures. So while 5-star Kakashi is okay, 6-star Kakashi is the really broken part of this kit. You never really use your S2 still. Your S1 is just so much better in every way. And with that, it's a good EX. And let's move on. These characters, nothing worth talking about. We're just gonna drop them here. EX Jiraiya is an AoE unit. It's probably good in A tier. Who inflicts Toad Genjutsu, so a really good debuffer for the enemy. But there's nothing really other than that. It's just, that's all he does. But his skill 2 deals pretty solid AoE damage. We can buff him up to A+ just to be kind to him. His characters don't matter. This character, triple S. If you don't know, this character is the very first event character in the game. You grind up to 10 million points to get his gear, or you get him early, I forget which one, or ranking event, I think top 5% gets him. The point event, and with that point event you needed these two characters to increase your points. If you don't have them, it's going to be a rough grind. But this character, as a 5-star, he was okay. He deals AoE fixed damage, which is really strong, but it wasn't a lot of damage. He buffs skill damage in his S2 and speed, which is really good. But his 6-star form, this character is the first best. This character was the very first OP / the best PvP character. You would S1 and you would hit AoE fixed damage that will most likely one-shot the fight. I can't put him lower than a triple S because of how much he made PvP when that first released so much easier for the players. Did so much damage that 400,000 base damage usually ends up hitting for about 300,000 with skill damage and everything up. And yeah, sadly his abilities doesn't really make sense because it's an attack boost. And then these characters, I'm gonna put them in C tier just because you wanted them. If you don't have them, you couldn't farm. Also, the 10k point. That was really unique because that's a gear that makes his chakra cost is set to 0. We don't get that a lot. You get that for 3 turns, so you have that. It really makes a big difference. And then after that, this Data, I believe, is a P-Mouse character, so nothing really worth talking about these guys. Just gonna put them here. Sasuke is the next one. So Sasuke is also an event character. Unlike Naruto, he's single target, but his single target is actually insane. So his 5-star form wasn't that good. It doesn't really bring much. I think actually, this is the interesting part. I believe this Sasuke was actually bugged. The way this character usually used to do was, you hit your S1, you're gonna hit them with your arrow, the animation. That will do a little damage, and then it's gonna blow up to do a massive damage. When he got his 6-star, they broke it, where all it does is the little damage and it doesn't explode. So with that, I'm gonna count that as like D tier, because of how bad that is. But then they fixed him. They changed his 6-star. No, that was his 5-star, yeah. Before he got his 6-star, his 6-star actually fixed him. So he was bugged where he doesn't do the explosion damage anymore. And then they gave him a 6-star. His 6-star was so good that he was the best DPS character during this time. because his single target was doing between 600 and 700,000 damage. Because he had an 8-time damage multiplier. His S2 state gives him 60% shotgun gun skill damage. His attack is increased by 120%. Plus his gears are starting to become a point. He has a built-in 120% shotgun gun skill damage. He did so much damage with this 6-star, it was insane. He felt like an EX. But I can't put him higher than that because, you know, these characters broke the game. Well, he was just a really strong unit at this time. But his 5-star was sadly bugged to all hell. And then these guys are just point multipliers, so I'm just gonna put him here because you wanted it. You're a point multiplier. I'm just gonna move some units here that I don't really want to talk about because there's some units I do want to talk about. So yeah, that's good. So these are all point multipliers. I don't really want to judge point multipliers because at the end of the day, only like one point multiplier becomes OP in the meta. But yeah, Sakura's an A+. This Sakura was your lead 99% of the time if you're struggling. Her lead makes it so you take reduced skill damage and you recover 5% HP. Really strong lead. Her kit, her S1 heals, and her S2 heals. So, and it gives you a dodge chance. So she was really strong for hard events. This is part of your fire squad. If you needed someone to buff your attack and skill damage, which is for 6-star Madara, he was your best partner because he buffed attack and fire skill damage by 100%. Plus, he inflicted burn. No, he doesn't inflict burn. He deals 4 times damage when the enemy is burned. So how that works is, you're buffing Madara's damage and Madara's burning. It increases his damage. Pretty good at that time. That was the fire squad. The remainder of the fire squad was like Madara, Yu, Hanzo, and like Shisui. This Kakashi, one of the sadly not really useful. I think he's also a point was he a point multiplier? He was a point multiplier for Kabuto, but Kabuto wasn't that useful. This character was easy to farm. He did really high single target damage. His event was a run event, so all you do is you put all your point multiplier. They didn't even have to be leveled up, and you could finish grinding him in like an hour. So he did really strong single target damage. He's just a strong debuffer. Now we're at the 1st year anniversary. So this is what I want to say. It's actually a good tier list for every character that came out pre 1 year. So this is really good so far. I think I'm gonna split this video up in 7 parts. I know that's a lot of parts, right? But I think we're gonna go to 1 year anniversary here. I'm thinking if I should go a little bit forwards towards. Yeah, we're gonna do 1 year anniversary of iOS. We're gonna end there. So this is the Android anniversary. These characters were really broken. They introduced the summoning type. Not introduced, but they improved the summoning type. This Sasuke cancels this Naruto inflicts deadlock debuff, but he buffs everyone's cast speed by 1. That's insane. He did like 200,000 damage, which was really strong in this part. His 6-star, and I believe his 6-star arrived like during 3 years when PvP started. So this is not 1 year version of them, but I don't really want to go back to the history and just do them later. So yeah, these characters were the best character in the game. These were the second 6-star, third batch, because the third batch was Naruto, followed by the free-to-play Madara, which is over here. This free-to-play Madara was really good for damage event. And then this is your P-Miles Kakashi, who was actually really good because of his lead. Let me look at his lead. I know his lead is really good. Yeah, for 2 turns, you're immune to all skill. He's slightly better than Sakura's. Yeah, that is your iOS. No, that's your Android anniversary. So we get free-to-play Naruto. This Jiraiya was okay. This Orochimaru was a god, I believe. Was it Orochimaru or Tsunade though? It was Orochimaru. So Orochimaru was your replacement for Sarada if you didn't have Sarada. You reduce defense by 70%. It was really strong back then. And then Tsunade, I think, is a healer. This character, if you know, you know. She is your chakra support. Chakra support was not a thing until her. She recovers your HP and chakra. That is such a game saver, especially in PvP or hard content. Because you start with 0 chakra usually. Unless it has a run event. You never started with 100% chakra. Not like now, where even in PvP you don't start with 100% chakra. But like events, you didn't start with 100% chakra. But her S2 made it so you can just keep spamming abilities like crazy. Really, really useful. Easily the best character during this time. She was always the first character you put on your team because she's good everywhere. Even better than these guys for supporting. And then Ellie. These ones were really bad. Nothing really to talk about them. This is EX Gaara. EX Gaara is probably one of the worst EX to come out. Because I believe he just took care of Taijutsu. Taijutsu wasn't really a problem. And then his S1 is AoE. Always hit inflict stand state, which is just cast speed -1. Cast speed -1 didn't really matter for PvE. And he wasn't using PvP. These guys were the tickets. Is actually good. These guys are the exact same thing. This is for the Obito event. Obito wasn't really that good. Jiraiya. Jiraiya is actually funny. He's not here because he's good. He's here because he is a user EXP booster. You're gonna do a PvE event. You run Jiraiya as lead if your team is strong enough, because he's just gonna increase your level and stuff. Now, first 7-star character that we're gonna talk about, is it actually the first 7-star? Very first 7-star character we are gonna talk about. In my opinion, this character is the longest meta character in this game. This guy was meta when he was a 5-star, he was a meta when he was a 6-star, and he was a meta when he was a 7-star. So this character is what we like to call a Godspeed. So a Godspeed unit is a character as it's a single target fixed damage. It's always going first because of how high their speed. The purpose of Godspeed characters, this is actually the perfect example, because Godspeed characters don't exist anymore right now because everyone's literally that speed. So perfect Godspeed character we're gonna talk about later on. He's somewhere here. What is a Minato? But his basic star Minato. But this character, as a 5-star, he wasn't a Godspeed character. 5-star, he was a fixed damage character with a chance to crit. But when it crits, it deals fixed damage. 5-star version of this guy is a C. The reason why you use him is because of his defense reduction, so he's your replacement for Sarada. But if your skills don't crit, it doesn't deal fixed damage, so it only deals 7% plus 4,000. His 5-star form is actually his worst form, because his 6-star form changed his damage to fixed damage, as well as giving him, like, he has a seal steel. It's a really high base damage, and then he has the speed to make up for it. So his 6-star is actually his most important. His 6-star was the most used one during the PvP meta, just because of how fast he is. And his cost. That's the best part about this. He's only 30 cost. We didn't run 90 cost because 90 costs were really bad back then. So getting someone that's a 30 cost lets you fit in good characters. Because there's the difference between now, you have gods that are 90 cost. You have base 6-stars that are 40 cost. Or like, then you have 40 cost. Back then, you got 30 cost, you have 35, you have 90, you have 40, you have 80. Cost was everywhere. So him being 30 was actually really good, because you'd be running like 90, 90, 40, 30. That worked out for you. The 7-star form is slightly worse than the 6-star form when it comes to the meta. I want to say it's about A+. Because when he got his 7-star form, there's other 7-stars that's already better in the game. His rival for Akatsuki is the white version of him, which is pretty much the exact same characters but deals an additional attack. But his 6-star form, that character took over the meta really. Like Akatsuki team, you could not see him. You could not see an Akatsuki team without him. And these characters were bad, not really worth talking about. Now, this guy, what I talked about earlier about the cost, he's an 80 cost. So when he got his 5-star, his 5-star during the time he was out was probably one of the best characters in the game because he did so much damage. You either went the basic attack route, which got plus a 1900% attack buff with his state, or you go his kick route. So if you kick, you can only use his S1 once because you inflict exhaust state to yourself. But if you kick, that's doing like 3 million damage. The highest damage during this time is like 400,000. Dealing 3 million damage was unheard of. And then he got his 6-star. 6-star is the best way. The best way to describe it is the worst character to ever come out of this game. So his 6-star was so bad that it's better. Like, it was funny at how bad his 6-star is. He became a basic attack character only because if you use your S1, you do enough damage. The damage you deal with your S1 is pretty much the exact same damage as what everyone else will be doing in 2 to 3 hits. While the first one, the 3 million damage, that equals to everyone doing 10 times amount of attacks you gotta do. But for this one, it turns to 2 to 3 times attack. So why would I use this character ever? Didn't make any sense. Plus, this was pre-buffed 6-star guy. Pre-buff 6-star guy still inflicts exhaust into himself. If you wanted to use this guy, you needed to use a character like Tsunade. Tsunade comes out. Where is Tsunade? Where is Tsunade? Yeah, this Tsunade. So it's so far away before this guy became usable. And then move on. These characters are event character. Character was bad. This character was glitched and was the best character in the game. So, as I was talking about earlier, he came out during near anniversary or before anniversary, before Guy, and this guy was glitched. He was free, and he did 13 million damage because they messed up his calculation with his S1. It's an attack damage calculation. Instead of ignoring, he doesn't ignore defense, right? So it doesn't ignore defense, but they made it so it ignored every defense. So it was hitting for 13 million damage. In the meta, where 600,000 is not existent. The highest DPS character during this time was 6-star EX Naruto, Sage Naruto, who was doing about 65,000 damage. He was better than Anniversary unit, who was doing about 300,000 damage. He did about 13 million damage. Even nowadays, 13 million base hit is actually pretty crazy to hit. Even though with additional attacks, we're hitting for like 80 million. But 13 million damage during year 1 was insane. Then they fixed the bug and he was never used again. But that bug is still in everyone's memory who played during that time. So yeah. And then this EX Orochimaru, who was never used, pretty bad. These characters are easy over here. Oh yeah, just go over their history by the way. These are your event characters. We had an event character where we get this 3, but this Sasuke was the point booster, and then we got an EX Orochimaru. And then for these guys are all event. These 3 had different events, and this Sasuke was a banner unit, just generic banner units. So I just want to talk about the ones I didn't really talk about. I talked about the Kabuto one. Talk about the Tayuya one was also a run unit. The Kabuto one, the Masked Man one, the booster was Kakashi over here. These 3 were the boosters. And then Hakuzu event was, I think, is a damage event. Choji was your DPS. It was just a point booster. And I talked about Ino. This is the Zabuza event. This is a point event. I think the only booster was Kakashi. These guys were in the tickets. This is the Obito event. To get Obito to 6 star is very complicated because you need a very specific material for it. Even I don't have him 6 star because I hated that event. All I had was Hiruzen, and Hiruzen was the lowest point booster. This is a damage event for Isame. Pretty much if you didn't have these two, you weren't doing that event. This is a point booster for Pain. This Pain is the giant Shinra Tensei that destroyed Konoha. Really fun Pain. This is the second Sage Naruto in the game. When everyone saw him, everyone wanted him because of Sage Naruto, even though he's just a Slayer. Talk about him. This is a damage event for Mu. It was a weird damage event. I hated that damage event. And then we'll talk about you. These guys are point booster for A. A was literally on the block to get a 6 star, and they never did it, sadly. Because A was doing pretty good damage, but he was a 5 star. And yeah, that's that. This is a Deidara event. I think the boosters for Deidara events are all of the Akatsuki over here. He was good, but his gear was pretty much what you wanted from him. The problem is we didn't have an EX Deidara to come out, but you wanted to farm his gear because whenever that Deidara comes out, which we do get that Deidara somewhere over here. Which this one's Deidara is pretty good, but we're not going to be talking about him this video because we're already at the end of 1 year anniversary. So that will be it in an upcoming video, hopefully. But let me look at the gear that this Deidara got. This Deidara got a cast speed gear. Yeah, this Deidara got a cast speed gear. That's why it was really good. So yeah, and now we're at 1 year anniversary. This anniversary gave us tags. I remember this because as a gift, they let you have enough tags where I think if you did 8 multis, you can get a ticket. It only costs 20 tags to get a ticket. And that ticket has guaranteed one of these 3 units. And this is just free to play Sasuke, who was a 5 star. It took them forever to give him a 6 star, so it doesn't matter where he is. These characters were extremely hype. Because this is the first 6-path Naruto. This is the first Rina Sharingan Sasuke. This is the first 6-path Madara. And this is a 6-path Obito that's free. 6-path Obito that was free is actually pretty strong. Because if you crit, you deal like a ton of damage. So, it's actually a good way to end this first part of this video. Because these characters are so different between their 5-star form and their 6-star form. That is insane. So first of all, let's go over the best character in their 5-star form. When they were 5-star, the best character was Sasuke. Sasuke did a really high single target damage as a 5-star. It was just pretty much it. It was the best single target character. He inflicts the cut state, which reduces their damage and cast speed. He was used in normal PvP as a 6-star, but his 5-star form is probably where he's at. He got 100% skill damage, which is really good at the time. Naruto, as a 5-star, he's slightly worse than Sasuke. He doesn't do much damage, but he was the very first 6-path user in a game. The best thing about being a 6-path user is no one resists it. That's why every time they introduce a new nature, no one resists it. That means in any old content that comes out, this Naruto's gonna destroy. But his 6-star doesn't really do much damage. He's more of a support. And then Madara as a 6-star, this is the one that I got, by the way. He's like B tier. As a 6-star, Madara doesn't do much. He does a lot less damage than any of these two. I think he does a Rinnegan skill damage, so people already resist that. Cancels, but we're gonna go over that cancel later on. So this, I want to say, is the way I saw them as a 5-star, because their 6-stars arrived a couple of weeks after their banners were out. So if you got any of these 3 during the time, it was really good. But you wanted Sasuke when they were 5-star. And then when they got their 6-star, let's talk about Sasuke. Sasuke was the worst one of them all. Because all he did was the exact same thing, just a damage increase. So it probably went from like 200,000 damage to about 500,000 damage. 300k is good, but like not worth it. But Naruto, Naruto was better than Sasuke. Sasuke, the single target damage, can be immune because of the Sharingan skill type. So that's the bad thing about Sasuke, is that if the PvE event resisted, which they normally did, kind of screwed. Naruto is still a 6-path, but to 6-path, no one immunes it. So Naruto was doing about 400,000 damage AoE as well as buffing your team. Madara deals the least damage than both of these, but he was the best PvP character during his time. When PvP first came out, this was 3v3 PvP. This was beta PvP. This guy did not have his 6-star yet, I believe. So it was still Madara. So Madara, and then Obito, which we're going to talk about in the next part, I believe, which is... Where is Obito? Obito is over here. We're going to most likely talk about him in the next part, because, yeah, this is the Anni units. So, we got time for that. That's for the next video. Yeah, so you'll be running him and Obito during a PvP. I think that's it. So we're going to end that during iOS. This is the first year iOS. And this is the tier list so far. There's a lot of characters in Triple S, but it makes a lot of sense to why. First 6-star in the game, broke damage, best PvP character for a while. Cast speed up, plus broken summoning damage. Your best support for the longest time. And then just bugged to all hell. It's not a bad list. There's a lot of F tier units, but that's gonna increase later on. With that, I'll see y'all next week, most likely, for part 2 of this video. Bye.